Stop me if you've heard this before, but the Chiefs beat the Bills in the regular season. It sends a message to the rest of the AFC, and it's going to happen. We'll tell you why today. I'm Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome into Red Friday. Chiefs Kingdom. We're brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail. We want to make sure that you get every move to count. Pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned for highlights from this week's Moving the Game Forward. Move from Mazda, move and be moved. And we're going to move you. Thanks for making us your first listen here on the Locked On Podcast Network. That's your team every single day, like we always do. We appreciate you everydayers for being here with us. We're going to run it down for you as the Chiefs get ready to take on the Bills. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, NFL33.com, and RGR Football. The man to my right, as you're looking at this, is Chris Clark over at KC Chiefs Corner. You can find him. We're going to give you the X factors you got to watch out for and the predictions. That's up later in the show. Before that, the matchups that matter that are going to get this win. We'll give you that here shortly as well. We start about what this game means to these two franchises. Maybe the rest of the league doesn't care about, but what it can say to the rest of the AFC. And for me, that is, these are the Titans of this conference. I think this game will set them apart and set them up for that. I know we had a great discussion with Joe yesterday over on Locked On Bills. And no disrespect to the Patriots, but I still, after looking back last night at a little bit more detail, these are still the two Titans of this conference, and I think this is the marquee matchup for at least the mid part of this season, if you are a team that plays in this conference and are trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah, and right now the Colts are sitting in the catbird seat. They're the number one seed. I don't think that continues. We will see if they can continue to win when the schedule gets a little bit tougher, and if they win against the Chiefs, that will solidify their chances, I think, to be the number one seed in the AFC. But I agree with you. I think this is the two teams that people are most expecting to make it back to the AFC Championship game from the AFC. Obviously, the Patriots have played better than I expected that they would, but I still don't think that they're going to be able to beat the Bills when it probably matters later on in the season and maybe even in the playoffs. So it's going to be interesting to see how this game shakes out. This is a completely different Bills team than it has been in the past, and that's part of what the storyline is going into this game.
It really is. The shifting tendencies, and I don't want to call the Colts paper tigers. I guess I would call them paper Colts. But I agree. I don't know that they're going to make it that far. And I do think that despite the shifting of gears and having lately at least to rely more on the run game than the pass game, even with Josh Allen, that it is a bit different formula for the Bills as they try to take on this Chiefs team that seems to be going retro and being more like they were in the past, where putting up points was second nature. Anybody can have a stall it. Anybody can put a defensive scheme together that slows things down. But as we look at this, the run-heavy aspect of these Bills, I think is probably to their own detriment. And I think they don't have a choice. I think they have to do that in order to compete, because I don't think they have the passing game that they have had in the past.
And if that's the case, that begs the question, is it going to be a problem when they go up against a team like Kansas City? Because I would not expect that you're going to see James Cook going off for 200 yards in most games. And don't get me wrong, they beat Carolina and they beat them soundly. Great. Congratulations on that. But a 200-yard rushing attack against Carolina and scoring 40 points isn't the same as going up against Patrick Mahomes. In Kansas City, generally speaking, this is a team that's going to be able to move the ball up and down the field, especially on against a bad Bills defense. They were bad with Ed Oliver. They're going to be even worse without him, because he's not going to be playing in this game. He tore his bicep. So I do think that this is going to be a game where Kansas City is going to be trying. Obviously, I think they're going to be trying to get to 30, 35 points again. And the question I have is, if the Bills are going to run the ball consistently, can they run it well enough to get it to be a game at the end of the game? Because I don't see how they're going to run the ball that much and be able to put up the amount of points that they need to be able to put up.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, when it comes down to the head-to-head matchup, you have to put up those points because Josh is 4-1 in the regular season against Patrick Mahomes-led offenses, but he's 0-4 in the reverse. And I don't know that there's anything that can be done about that right now. The Chiefs have generally, in my opinion, not played all out, shall we put it, in the regular season, no matter who the opponent is. There's healthy respect for the Buffalo Bills, but it isn't like they've game planned the season around these 4 quarters. I just don't feel that's the way Andy Reid works.
No, and I agree with that, but I would also argue that this season is different than it has been in the past, mainly because of how they started. They started behind the 8 ball, and while I would expect that this is one of those things where, they're going to say any given Sunday, and, if we're going to go out there, we're going to try to win. If we lose, and we'll move on. You can't really have that attitude right now with where your record is. You have to feel like you have to win every single game, because if you want any chance at the number 1 seed, you can't win many more. And if you want to win the division, you may not be able to win many more. We'll see what the Chargers and the Broncos still have coming later on in the season.
Yeah, that's fair. And the must-win nature of this, especially against those 2 teams. When you look right now, there are 3 AFC West teams slated for the playoffs. That also sends a message to the rest of the AFC that if the winner comes out of this division, that they have played the best competition across the conference because the other teams are in it. And this is something we've seen over the last couple of years where the middle tier of the AFC West is pushing past and pushing up against division winners in other areas of the country.
Well, but what we haven't seen is anybody be able to really challenge Buffalo in the AFC East substantially for a long period of time. Maybe for a year or two, Miami kind of gave them a run for their money at times. New England has given them problems at times, but not really a substantial deal where it's been somebody that would be challenging them for the AFC East. And this year, looks like New England could win the AFC East. We will see if that continues. Obviously, their easy schedule is going to help in that regard. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I still think that you're figuring it's going to be the Bills and the Chiefs meeting at some point in the playoffs. It may not be the AFC Championship game just because of the way the seeding works, but they should be meeting in the playoffs, you would expect.
Yeah, there will be a rematch. But that's for next time. For this time, the must-win matchups, 2 of them are along the offensive line for the Bills. We'll get to that next.
This episode is brought to you by Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's about redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, they move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Patrick Mahomes' touchdown pass to Kareem Hunt. Going up against the Commanders, they had gotten down to the Commanders' 2-yard line. 3rd and 2, he throws the ball. It's incomplete to Noah Gray. Andy Reid does what he has been doing a lot more this season, and he decides, I'm going to go for it. And he goes for it on 4th and 2. And Mahomes sprints out to his right, avoiding the rush, and throws a touchdown pass to Kareem Hunt. That moved the game forward. That put the Chiefs ahead permanently in this game, and it got the Chiefs to a point where they would win the game against the Commanders. When you follow what moves you, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and you're in business. You can get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across their app. It's super simple. And if you know your first one, it helps you get on a roll. Without a doubt, it makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action, when you're involved. It's not just for the casual fan, but if you love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes that game day experience that much more. You got to get into it. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com or download the FanDuel app today and get started. It's at FanDuel. Every game has the things that you have to do. It's a checklist. You have a game plan against a checklist. For this particular team, for this particular league, we've talked about the pass game not being as optimal. When you look at what the offensive side of the Buffalo Bills can do, where it's ranked, there's 2 things that stand out to me from our friends over at True Media. they're able to point out that the interceptions and the sacks per attempt are the worst offensive categories for the Buffalo Bills that they have. 15th and 17th. So squarely middle of the pack in those two categories, which means pressure and the derivative of that being interceptions is working and more prevalent for this team, this offensive group, than it has been in recent years. And I personally feel like that's because of the lack of separation that the receivers are getting and Josh holding the ball a little bit more. He feels a little bit less apt to run until maybe the last 6 quarters. So I think it all comes together in turning into something that the Chiefs can take advantage of. Thought we got one of maybe George Karlaftis' best performances last week. Chris Jones is obviously Chris Jones. I don't think any of that's going to change. I think that they have an opportunity here to do what they generally are not able to do, and that is pressure Josh into a mistake or get enough sacks to kill drives and really limit what the Buffalo Bills are able to do.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here looking at the schedule for them so far. So that they played 7 games, and the thing that sticks out to me when you start talking about that is you have guys in the league that have played, 8 games that have thrown for almost 300 passes already. Josh Allen has only thrown for 197. You're talking about a situation where he has thrown 197 passes and has 4 interceptions and is middle of the pack because of interception percentage. That's fascinating to me because they haven't been throwing the ball. And that was one of the things that I kind of talked about on the show with Joe, is that while I do think that they can continue to win at times with Josh not throwing the ball for over 200 yards, which he hasn't done in the last 2 weeks, I don't think it's sustainable, especially against this Chiefs team. Hasn't gone for over 200 yards. Didn't go for it in the Carolina game. Didn't do it the week before that either. It's going to be interesting to see if they are able to switch it up and get the passing game going for Buffalo. But to me, when you look at this game, it squarely comes down to what we kind of talked about in the first segment. It's the running game for Buffalo. And I'm looking directly at James Cook and saying, okay, this is what you have to stop. Yeah, Josh Allen is probably, I would say, easily a top 3 quarterback in the NFL, maybe the second best quarterback in the NFL behind Mahomes. But James Cook is on another level of playing right now, and that is the Buffalo Bills offense. That's how they're functioning. That's how they're being effective. You have to take it away, and it starts with Mike Pinell, who just got back, and Derek Nottie and Chris Jones, and the interior of this Chiefs offensive line or defensive line have to get after and stop the running game for the Bills.
It makes perfect sense to me. I was going to go a different direction, but I do want to ask you. Mike Pinell's in play shape. He's been making tackles for the Bengals. Obviously, it was a fast turnaround from release day or what we call Hallelujah Day in the Pinell household from being released from the Bengals to getting signed and back in Kansas City messing around with Chris Jones in practice. So that's a pretty quick turnaround. I don't have an expectation that he walks in and starts, but I think he'll play some decent snaps. I don't know that he'll approach 50%, but what do you think?
I don't know that he'll get to 50%, but I do expect he's going to be in there. He may start. It may be one of those situations where he has been in this system before. They're not going to have changed the defensive philosophy and what they're doing to where he can't understand it. He was just here for training camp, so he's got an idea as to what they're going to be doing. And this could be a situation where, quite frankly, I honestly, people are going to hate this, but I honestly wouldn't care if it's Derek Nottie and Mike Pinell going out there for first down for this first play of the game.
That's not a bad idea. Hit him in the face. Yeah, let's go.
Send a message. Don't I'm not saying Chris Jones needs to be taken off the field. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is send a message that you realize what you're going to have to do, which is stop the running game and put your run stuffers out there. I know people don't like Derek Nottie, but that is what he is getting paid to be in Kansas City for. Same thing with Mike Pinell, and challenge Josh to throw it because, as you kind of talked about earlier, they haven't been great when they've been throwing the ball.
And you know who does love Derek Nottie? Steve Spagnuolo. So you just might see that. I think it's a sound thing. If I'm Buffalo Bills, I'm going play action first play, just so you know. But that said, I do think that they're successful in slowing the run, maybe not taking it completely away. But James Cook has been kept to 40, 50, 60 yards in the past. I expect that kind of performance. And when they do, the Bills are going to have to shift to the passing game. And there's only really one way to go there. And it's a little bit deceptive because Khalil Shakir is not the game breaker that I thought he would grow into when he came out of Boise State, but he does make plays. And in particular, this last game against that Panthers defense, he had something like, of his 88 yards, 71 of them were after contact. So this falls, in my mind, to Trent McDuffie locking up on him all day long and making sure that he's in his hip pocket. He's going to make some catches. He's quick out of his breaks. He does have ability, but you got to be there to stop that extra yardage.
To be clear, are you saying that he should follow him?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I would do.
Yeah. I'm not going to argue with that. You look at the rest of the Bills receiving core, and while Josh Palmer did practice in a limited capacity, maybe he's going to be available for this game on Sunday. We'll see. It's still not something that I think that you really have to feel concerned about. Yeah, Josh Allen kind of elevates some of the players, and I get that, but you don't have the threats at that wide receiver position. You have threats at tight end, so maybe that's the way that they end up going, and that's been a concern for Kansas City. So I could see them trying to attack that way, but the Bills have focused on running the ball and running the ball and running the ball, and I think that trend is going to continue because I don't think that they feel great about their passing game. And the one thing that the running the ball can get them, if they're effective, is it will help them eat up time of possession. If they can do that, that would limit the amount of time that Mahomes has the ball in his hands and it could score points. But when you look at this Chiefs offense versus that Bills defense, I cannot see a scenario where they don't put up another 28 points plus.
It's like you're telling me what your prediction is going to be. We're going to get to that coming up in a minute, folk, along with the X factors and what and where's number 0. We'll get to that next. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything, and we've all heard them before. It's I'm just stressed or I'm tired or whatever it is. Sometimes when it comes to your performance, your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Rugiet comes in. Rugiet is a fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatment-free ED that's designed to help people stop making excuses and start making moves. Rugiet makes it easy to get started. You can get connected with a board-certified doctor for 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments, nothing that you got to worry about. If prescribed, your treatment gets discreetly delivered straight to your door. It's fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real docs. Visit Rugiet.com. RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL to get 15% off of your first offer. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnNFL. And you don't forget to use our code LockedOnNFL so they know where they sent you. Rugiet. Stop making excuses and start making moves. There's lots and lots of things that can go wrong. Throw a kink in a game plan. Be an X factor. What stands out to you the most on either side of this game?
Well, I think the biggest X factor for the Chiefs is continuing to get Rasheed Rice going. And the more you feed him, the more he gets involved in this offense, the better it's going to be for everybody. And the bigger thing that I really appreciate about getting Rice more involved is it gives you the ability to kind of give Worthy some time off a little bit. I'm not saying he's not going to be out on the field, but he doesn't have to be the focal point of the offense, which should limit the wear and tear on him, and maybe his shoulder can get a little bit, healthier as they're headed into the bye week so we can get some rest on it. So to me, it's getting Rasheed Rice going early on, make him the X factor in this offense, feed him early, get him going, and I think this Chiefs offense will take off.
I agree. And there's a specific way that I would get that, because the X factor for me is who you choose to attack. I would have been surprised if I had not looked this up myself and you told me, hey, the worst cornerback on this roster is Benford, a guy who's made plays against Chiefs in the past and matches up and can be physical. Not playing well. Trey White, not playing well. Only playing at a medium level is Taron Johnson out of the slot, and he's the guy that's going to have to play against Rice quite a bit. X as well. So it seems seemingly to me a lot like last week against the Commanders, where the best defender they have right now in the secondary is the guy who's got the hardest matchup. So for the Chiefs, it's about iterating off of where Rasheed Rice goes. And I'm not prepared to say that Rasheed Rice is the main catalyst of this offense yet. It's only been a couple of games here. I think the cast is wide enough that he doesn't have to be that, but He will demand the attention. And so riffing off of that, I think, is the key right now. Hollywood looks like he's probably going to be able to go. And I think he's somebody that, as we've seen in the last couple of weeks, may be in position to reap some of the benefits of the attention that Rasheed Rice gets, especially from Taron Johnson.
Yeah, and I think when you continue to look at this from the offensive perspective of the Chiefs, it's attacking the secondary. It's attacking go after the safeties. I mean, they just brought up Jordan Poyer from the practice squad. Obviously, he's been in Buffalo. They know what they have there, but it was their practice squad guy. He's getting older. Attack that. Use that to your advantage. You have all these different weapons, and it goes beyond. And I do think, thank you for bringing up Hollywood Brown. He did miss practice on Wednesday. It looks like he was back on Thursday, so I'd expect he's playing. He was just sick on Wednesday, so I don't think that there will be any hangover from that. But you have all these weapons now, and we haven't even talked about Tyquan Thornton for a couple of weeks. This is a game where, to me, I'd be sending Tyquan Thornton deep, a couple times every series. Just have him out there, have him going deep, try to take the top off the defense, see what you can get. Because the other part of it is I think that they're going to try to force Kansas City to run the ball because you're likely going to be without Isaiah Pacheco, which is what you would figure.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be a game where we actually get to see Elijah Mitchell maybe. What does he bring to this offense? He's been wanting to play, I'm sure. I'm not sure that we're going to get to see him a ton, but I think that him being on the field and seeing more Rashard Smith is going to be a lot of fun on Sunday.
Yeah, it should give us a different flavor, right? The other X factor that I'm looking at is how you take him away, because there's been a lot of turmoil for Keon Coleman in Buffalo this year. He doesn't seem to be that happy, but he can make plays. He has leaping ability. He is a physical specimen, right? Jalen Watson's been playing well, but I expect him to draw him quite often. And unless something drastically changes, I feel like Jalen Watson can make that matchup work for him. So as much as I think Coleman deserves attention, I don't think he's the primary. The guy that scares me a little bit more is Samuel Curtis. He should be able to play in this one as well. And he has that ability to just kind of drift away from coverage, get loose, and he can accelerate a little bit better. So I don't know, if you had to pick your poison, which one were you more concerned about?
I think it's funny you bring up Keon Coleman just because of the fact that Bills fans always want to say that the Chiefs would take Keon Coleman over Xavier Worthy. Yeah, no, not a chance. To me, I think that Keon Coleman's probably the bigger threat, mainly just because of his size and his ability to jump and to do things and high point the ball at different times. And he has seemed to get up for the Chiefs games. We'll see if that ends up being the case. I would agree he seems a little bit off this year, but so does Josh Allen at that point. When you look at it from that perspective, it's a question of, okay, without Josh Palmer, who is he their number 2 right now? I mean, that's not a great
maybe
move if you're calling him their number 2. Like, that's the weapons that they put around Josh Allen from the wide receiver perspective is pretty sad, and it's one of the reasons that the Bills keep getting linked to a whole bunch of different trade scenarios, which would obviously not happen before Sunday, but could happen right after.
Right. And folks, the Tuesday is the deadline. So whether us or something important to the Chiefs happens, we will break it down for you next week. Don't mind that. We will be live post game as we always are. And for the Bills to be linked to trades this late in the season, I think you're right. That is indicative of just how little they're getting production-wise. So let's not let the Chiefs become the exception to that rule. How do you see this game going?
When I look at this game, I think that it's just a matter of who's playing better right now. And while the Bills played and beat a good or a okay Carolina team soundly, I don't think that that's the same as going up against this Chiefs team. And I do think Kansas City has shown that their offense is clicking on all cylinders. The big question that came from the Commanders game is the first half. What was the first half? What caused them to look so out of sorts besides turning the ball over, which obviously is going to affect it? But they did start moving the ball before the first turnover, and then they started moving the ball before the second turnover. So they were still moving the ball, but they couldn't do anything with it because they were turning it over. So you have to think that once they get that figured out, their offense is going to just keep humming. I think that they're going to put up 30 points against the Bills. The question becomes, can the Bills keep pace? And is this going to be a game where it comes down to the final possession? I say that it could, but it's not going to shock me if it doesn't. I'm going to go 31-24 Kansas City.
I like that. There's a number of aspects to it, and I agree with you about the game flow and what has to happen for the Bills in order for them to be successful. They're going to make some plays. Josh is going to break something against the Chiefs because he always will, because he's playing harder than he plays against anyone else. The other thing that I think, yeah, absolutely.
Every year.
The other thing that I think is important is the Chiefs have been able to stop their version of the tush push before. And right now, as I look at it, Kansas City is number 1 in defending fourth down conversions. And the Bills are only 15th in achieving fourth down conversions. So if we get to that point and it's a fourth down and you're looking for a sneak and particularly a tush push, I feel like not only are the Chiefs executing very well against it, but the Bills are not executing their version of it very well. So I feel like that's a significant advantage that could be part of the game flow here, even though I think Josh will have a decent game.
Yeah, and the question I have is going to be who's going to be on the field. If the Bills are smart about it, they're going to make sure it's not the people that the Chiefs would want to be on the field, so they're going to do a quick fourth down play. But the one thing really quick before you go give your prediction that I actually liked that I heard in the press conferences, Matt Nagy was actually talking about fourth down, and I know you're talking about the Bills going for it. He was talking about the Chiefs. He was talking about how they need to stay aggressive. If they don't get it, they don't get it. But they need to stay aggressive. I love hearing that, because if the coaching staff is saying that, they are cognizant of how well it's working for this team and how much it's helped them.
Yeah, and that's a great point to make, because I agree with Matt, and I agree with you. Matt Nagy is correct, and his voice needs to push Andy Reid, because they do need to stay aggressive with it. I think that they do, and I think that works out. I have the Chiefs winning this 34-24. So we both are taking 2-score game. That's what I'm saying. Josh will be driving at the end is my guess, but a 2-score game. What do you guys think? We'd like to know. Put it down in the comments here on YouTube and over on X for any of us to find and rip apart. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope that you'll join us post-game. You everydayers, we know that you're always there. But we would like to have everyone join us, because it's a great time to spend after the Chiefs get a W. And if they don't, then you can come commiserate. It's always a good time. We'll be live with Matt Derrick from his homestead bunker, whatever we call that. I will be here. I hope that you guys will join us. Thank you for your time and your patience and being a subscriber. Have a great one, and we will talk to you post-game.